Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you believe it, David Schreiber? It's episode 3 of the Two
You,
Biscuits podcast. Where's the
you make,
time going?
I don't know. You make me think of Welcome Back, Cotta, but I like it. I like your introduction there.
There's something. What is it where they go, welcome, welcome, welcome? That's some show I watch. I don't know what it is.
Frosty the Snowman. Doesn't he go,
It might
Happy,
be
happy,
Frosty.
happy birthday?
It might be Frosty the Snowman. That's true.
I think it is. I think
That
it
is true. Well, I think we're really catching on, David. I saw that we had like 30 or 40 views of one of our videos this week. I It's like, oh my gosh, are there really 30 or 40 people watching, or is it just that you watch it 10 times and I watch it 10 times
I'm not
and
gonna lie.
you know,
I'm not gonna
I,
lie. Every time I want
I don't,
inspiration, I go to it. I'm like, I got to hear myself talk so I
yeah,
can
yeah, I
learn
don't know.
something.
I don't know if there's actually people watching or not. I had a family member who said they actually enjoyed it. I mean,
Yeah,
who'd have thought that somebody would enjoy it? Now I just heard it through the grapevine that your children gave you some constructive feedback. Is that true? Did you get some
absolutely.
feedback from your
Oh,
children?
I got some feedback. Okay, Dad, don't do it anymore. You're bad. You're bad.
You're
Uncle
embarrassing
Jeff is
us.
fine. Uncle Jeff's
Yeah,
good. You're
yeah.
just.
Yeah, you're embarrassing us. Yeah,
Uh,
your kids are still at that age where they would be embarrassed by you doing something well. They're like, "Oh, Dad, please don't do that." Like you'll use a word or something that you'll say, and they'll be like, "Oh, don't do that again. Please don't do that again."
it's
Mine
awful.
are older.
Yeah,
David's are now how old? 19? How old are you? How old? 19 is the youngest? Are
20
they
working on
20?
21. They're gonna be
What?
21 this year. Yeah,
But they're 20 now.
they're 20 right now. Yeah.
20 now. So
So
my youngest is 24.
yeah.
So yeah, we're spread out from all the way up to 34, 33. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy how that flies.
you got some babies in the house too now. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 4 grandchildren. Yeah, that's well, they're not in the house, but they're here as often as we can get them here. That's for sure. It's a lot of fun for sure. And
I
we'll
just
talk
need to
about that
know.
sometime.
Yeah, we'll look at that later. But I do want to say once again that you just when I look at you, I just look at a man has changed so many diapers in his life, and he has
Yeah,
nurtured so many
yeah,
souls in the middle of the night
yeah.
crying that you just ooze that sense of
The calm. Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to crawl in your arms. You rock me to sleep just with
Well, I
your
will tell you,
steadfastness.
I got to be honest because my wife occasionally does watch this. The middle
Yeah.
of the night is not my good time.
Ooh.
It is not my good time. I am not a high quality middle of the night. I'm a great early morning take caregiver. I'm a great late night caregiver, but
So you're not like passing two ships in the night. I'll take it. You go to sleep for a
no.
little while. I
Well,
got it.
of course we've done that. Of course we've done that. But
Right.
usually it went like a tap on the shoulder and say, "I need you." Now they're, "Oh, what?" It's usually like that. Yeah.
Mine just has to get that look.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm like,
if you're sleeping, how do you know the look is coming though? You don't know
I
the look
feel
is
it.
coming.
I
Oh,
feel it. I can just sense it. I can sense it. I'm going.
oh my gosh.
It's there.
Hey, you know what though? You know what though? Let's say it for the record here.
Okay.
Our wives, oh my God, dude, they are the most incredible human beings literally on the planet.
I
First of all,
wouldn't be. I wouldn't
I
be.
mean,
I would.
oh
I
my
wouldn't even
gosh.
exist probably anymore without her. So I'd be dead.
Oh my gosh. What a change. The whole idea of changing people, yeah, it's for real. I think
Let me say this because I owe her this shout out. I've had some injuries the last couple weeks, month, and I don't give her enough credit because she has waited on me hand and foot,
yeah.
and
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
I've still been a jerk to her, and she hasn't.
Of course you have.
She's
Yeah.
gotten. I know. And
Yeah.
I have to. I gotta stop that.
Yeah.
But it's hard because it's just
It is. Yeah.
unconditional love. You just kind of
Yeah. Well,
you're the hardest on those people, right? I guess.
the other thing is you're frustrated with yourself, and a lot of times you're mad at yourself because I wish I wouldn't have done that, and I'm
Mhm.
tired of being this way, and and then you take that out on the one person that's listening to you, and that's it's never good that way.
What's kind of crazy is that you can make this connection to our profession.
Oh yeah,
The kids that you teach, who are the hardest to teach, are the ones that need the most love, but they
yeah,
also give you the most grief because they know that you won't let them fall, that you're going to be there,
yeah, yeah.
regardless.
That's true. Yeah,
Unconditional love.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think I'm saving it in the bag for later, but there's a really great story that I want to share in one of our episodes about about a kid that was, and I got to figure out, we don't really want to share people's names that aren't a part of
Mhm.
our family, so we don't have permission from. But I'll figure out a way to talk about this young man that can share that it has a happy ending in the end.
Yeah.
But before we jump in and chat about, I want to tell you a couple things. So David sent me a couple of quotes this week that were straight up out of our Two Biscuits podcast genre. Okay, so
Really?
I
Okay.
want to put
Go
I want
ahead.
to put the quotes into the record here. So here's the first one:
Okay.
If you mind your own biscuits, everything will be gravy.
I like it. It's
God, that
deep. You
is.
got people have to say that one more time, please.
I got it. I got it. If you
Yeah.
mind your own biscuits, everything will be gravy.
We're just adding that to the deeper meaning of what's going on
I,
here.
you got it. You got it. Yeah, that's for sure.
If the audience out there just knew how deep this was and the
I know.
meaningfulness that's
I
coming
know.
from it,
I know.
yeah,
I know.
it's a Pulitzer Prize winner.
It
I'm
is.
telling you,
Well,
it's the best one
Pulitzer
year.
Prize. Well, we gotta have a lot more exposure to have a Pulitzer Prize. I tell you what, I'm
Yeah, that's
excited
true.
about. At some point, Zevia is going to see that I drink this stuff during the podcast. They're gonna support us. I'm waiting for it. I know it's going to happen. They're going to be really excited about it. So here's quote number two.
Mhm.
Why rush to work when you're already late? Stop and get you a little biscuit or something.
That's
Let me give. I'll
perfect.
give it again. Give it again.
Yeah, say it
Why
again.
why rush to work when you're already late? Stop and get you a little biscuit or something.
I'm telling you, if I'm driving to work, I'm watching and listening to this podcast.
Yeah,
Little,
I'm
little,
listening.
little biscuit.
And I'm gonna stop and get me a little something. That's a real Southern way to say it, isn't it? A little something, a little something. I don't
Can
know how to
I?
spell that. I'm not sure how to
Can I?
spell that. A little
Can I
something.
throw out that? Can I throw out there? I know you love the tenderloin biscuit, but I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah,
go with the Bojangles Cajun
yeah.
biscuit.
Oh
With the
yeah.
bowl
That's a
rounds.
good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm a big fan of country ham biscuits. I have to say, it's a country ham biscuit world. I believe our logo on YouTube and on some of the other podcast places where you get your podcasts is a couple of country ham biscuits. I
Oh,
think
it's a
that's our,
ham
I think
biscuit.
that's our logo. Hey, I got to tell you because I know this is gonna you're gonna dominate the conversation here when I tell you this, but I'm gonna
I
tell you
don't know.
anyways. I had lunch with somebody this week. Somebody
Really?
very important to you. Are you ready
I'm
for this?
intrigued. I'm intrigued by that.
So, it was probably maybe 2 months ago, I asked our young friend Philip if he had this person's number or had access to it. So he asked his friend, who's the son of this man, and got the number and sent it to me. And I waited a while. I didn't call
Mhm.
him. I was like, maybe it'd be weird. I haven't seen him in a long, long time. But I just, this podcast made me think about people that are important to us, David. Like who's important to us that I haven't talked to in a long time that's important to me. So I texted first before I called Van Dierman.
The
And
Van Dierman.
the Van Dierman. And I had lunch with Van Dierman this week and we shared war
You actually
stories.
shared space with Van Dierman
I
this week.
did, right across the table, and he told me war stories that went all the way back to when you were in high school at your alma mater,
Ah,
where he
man.
was he was there,
Can I
and
say I am so jealous.
I
So
know, I
jealous.
know, I know. Well, we one of the things we talked about, and I know you feel this way too, and I'll let you
Mhm.
talk about it a little bit, is we all have moments in time
Mhm.
that for your whole rest of your life, you reflect on those moments in time. When you think about our time together, let's not even go to the old junior high building that was now a pile of scrap. I mean, it's gone.
Yeah.
But our time at the new building with Van, it was a very short amount of time.
Yes.
Very short. 3 years, 4 years, most. It just wasn't that
I
long.
think it was two.
Well, it wasn't very long. It wasn't very
No,
long. I
it
know
was a
that.
couple years before we moved
Yeah,
into the new building.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean in the new building. In the new building with him, three
Oh,
years, right? Three
oh
years with him.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. We had
yeah.
5 years total with him. Yeah.
5 years total with him. So he just told me stories the whole time, and it was a pretty big impact on your life, right?
Tremendous impact.
Yeah.
And this kind of I'm gonna go like this with this. This way I'm gonna go back to him. Some of the things that you and I've talked about because of the importance of this podcast being not just for us and our our families, but it's also trying to share with the world some good pieces of advice.
Yeah.
When I was in graduate school, some of the and I compare it to nowadays. We went to grad school 20 some years ago. The most important things I think that I took to heart and I used to really glean how I would want it to grow as a leader was based on learning from the experiences of others, especially someone who has been there and done that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
stories that they would share and how they did things. There was plenty of times you could read things, you watch a video, but when it's coming from somebody, here's a real life story, and I'm sitting there engaged, like, keep telling me,
Yeah.
And I learned so much from those. We'll just say from almost like a primary source, you could say. You're sitting there listening. I learned so much from Van Dierman, and the things that I wished I could say to him today that he didn't know are important to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
Van Dierman goes back to me when I was in high school. He was my high school assistant principal for several years.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I was a pretty diligent student. I didn't do anything I wasn't supposed to.
Valedictorian. Weren't you valedictorian?
No, no.
I thought you were
wished.
valedictorian.
No. I was close, but I was a few legs down. I will say I was a full scholarship recipient.
You were. I know. To be a teacher.
academics.
I know. I
Yeah,
remember that.
but he, the way he did things and what I saw from him, the interactions I saw were always positive because I never had negative experience with him.
Yeah.
I left high school, went on to college, came back, started teaching. You and I was taught for several years. All of a sudden, there's this new profound experience of opening up a new middle school, and they're going to hire somebody. I went on an out west excursion for 5 weeks, if you remember. I
do remember
lived
that.
I lived the dream. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget talking to you. I called you, I don't know if it was in California, Arizona, somewhere, and you said, hey, they hired a new principal for school. And I'm like, who did they hire? And you go,
Yeah.
some guy named Van Dierman.
I know.
And I said, Van Dierman? I said, he was my high school assistant principal, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I'll throw it back at you, but he had a very profound beginning with me.
Yeah.
And then I think it was 97 or 98 when he became our principal.
98.
That's what that's when the true my true learning from him came when I started.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't know it at the time, neither did you or I. The things that he was doing and sharing with us really molded us. I still use quotes from him today. Yeah, I still do.
Well,
And-
a lot of the quotes he gave us as young men, you can't use in a public setting.
No.
So
I'll say this. I revised it and used it. But it was still something he influenced.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just I'm the same as you. I think about my focus at that point when I met him in my life is I was going to teach and coach forever. I was never going to do any kind of leadership thing. That was never in my plan. I had been
Let
encouraged.
me ask you this question:
Go
How
ahead.
many people do you think, like when we were teaching, and you and I, not even though we're a few years apart age-wise, we're not significantly far apart profession-wise, like 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, when you start teaching or you're in any profession, sometimes you're thinking about right now.
Right.
I never thought that far
No.
ahead. I think that's just normal. That's normalcy.
Yeah.
And I'll say he saw something in us that we
Yeah.
didn't see or
Yeah.
look for maybe, and
Yeah,
that was important.
I do need to give a little shout out to the late Steve Teague, who was my principal before I came to the community where we live now. I was a very young teacher at the time, and he was the first one to say, I think you'd make a great administrator. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? I mean, that was so far from my head that I wasn't even thinking about it. Steve was a big influence. I always had that in the back of my head that maybe I could do this. And you got that thought placed by Van. Van's the one that restoked that for me. And I'll tell you what was the biggest deal in all of that. And just like you, I've learned so much that I take into everything that I do leadership wise with my current job with the university or my time in the K-12 world as a leader. It's relationships. It's empowerment. It's trust. I mean, there's more, I'm sure, but
Absolutely.
that's the theme, right? It's building relationships with the people that you have to work with. I mean,
Hmm.
if they, having building that trust because you built a relationship, and empowering people to make their own decisions. I mean, literally, that is what I'm doing every day now with the university, and I know that I did it as a principal. Now, of course, when I was in the central office, that was a little different. But I think I got that back. I was able to reapply that as, as assistant superintendent when I was supervising so many different
Yeah.
categories of people and things like that. But those
I
those
could,
three,
I, yeah, I could say this to you because I'm still say at the building level administrative role. The things he did, working back 25 years ago.
I know,
The
I
thing,
know.
the things that he did then, the things he shared by not just talking but by his actions.
Mm,
When it comes to true leadership, and empowerment, and you know as well as I do, a true leader makes other leaders. He
yeah,
creates other leaders.
yeah,
I saw how he did that, and I've used that in my skill game, well, not my skill, but in my, I guess you say, in my toolkit
right,
from day one. And I think that's something that, and I'm hoping as, we continue to, move on with this,
yeah,
is sharing with people that, you take from this, you take from that,
right,
but you always look back on the people that had the most influence on you.
yeah,
And if you say to me, like, who had the most influence on you as a leader?
yeah,
It's Van Dierman,
yeah,
and I'll
probably
just say,
so.
Yeah, Van Dierman's, his demeanor about
Yeah,
things, he didn't get excited, he was always
yeah,
calm, the way he handled things. The one thing the most important thing that he taught me was, empowering teachers, but making sure you keep the morale positive.
yeah, yeah,
He always talked about, the morale and making
yeah,
sure that morale's high. And then he always talked about taking care of your teachers. You have to remember
absolutely.
that. You
Yeah,
take care of
absolutely.
them. They know you care about them. You
Right.
look out for them, and that's something that you don't read that in books very often.
Yeah,
And the only way you get things like that, we got to share in that experience,
yeah,
but we got to learn that from it and see it in action and see it actually work.
yeah, yeah,
And that's important. And then the things I never, and I'll say this, there was a time period when I was venturing from the classroom into school leadership, and I was hesitant, I was backing up, and I remember when he walked up to me, he said a few things, but basically he walked up to me, he went like this, and
yeah,
he pushed me off the cliff,
yeah,
and either I
yeah.
or I flew.
I know.
I flew, and it
Yeah,
wasn't because of me so much. I had a little bit to do with it, but it was because of him and other influences that made me
yeah,
see in myself what I didn't
yeah.
see. I didn't see it. He saw it.
Did you?
So I'm
Did
gonna
you?
say it's I'm gonna say it's Van Dierman. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
so as a part of this lunch, I told him
Mhm.
about our podcast. I did.
No.
I did. And
Okay.
I said, so at some point or another, and I think we're going to talk about this today a little bit. We're gonna have like a recurring theme that every once in a while we're going to talk about our Mount Rushmore of some topic. I don't know, like our Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore of leadership, our Mount Rushmore of personal relationships, our Mount Rushmore of people that educators that
All
influenced
right.
us and teachers doesn't have to be leaders but and life in general. So I
Right.
told him, I said, we're probably going to have you on because David and I are going to make this list of four people and
Right.
you're going to be on both lists. I mean, I said you're going to be on both lists, so you're going to have to come on the
Absolutely.
podcast. So the only
Absolutely.
problem with that is, and I don't know if Andrew or somebody's going to help him watch our podcast. I don't know, Andrew, if you're out there, help him to see what we're doing here.
Andrew,
But
just get
I
himself
know,
on YouTube, man.
I know. So we're going to have to send him a link to get on here because that's the way this works when you bring in a
Yeah.
guest. You send them a link and they appear on the screen here with us. That's the way
Hmm.
it's going to be when we have some guests on. We're going to bring my son-in-laws on. My wife's going to come on and tell her amazing genealogy story sometime. You'll have some guests. You got a scientist
I
that's
got
like
a,
one of the smartest.
I got a friend named Dwayne that he's supposed to be on here too. Just so you
Oh,
know.
is that Dwayne Johnson?
No, no. His name's Dwayne.
Oh, okay.
It's Dwayne.
You know him enough to get him on the show? Is that what you're saying? I
I know Dwayne. We're
I
getting
don't
Dwayne on the show.
I don't think we're gonna get Dwayne on the show. However, you do have a scientist in
Dwayne.
your family that is doing amazing stuff that might be cool to
Yeah.
talk about. That would
It
be
might
kind
be.
of
Yeah.
that would be kind of a
Absolutely.
neat thing to do. But
I do
but
know that you have a professional golfer on your list, don't you?
I do. Yeah,
I
he's going to be
know.
on the son-in-law episode when you get to just
Do you know
basically
how
make fun of my son-in-law. son-in-laws. Yeah.
But you know, he can come on because I'll be honest. I need a like a reprieve of what we're doing. Get some skill
Yeah.
building in here, and
Yeah.
his skill
Yeah.
building in golf would help out tremendously.
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you, I hit the jackpot with son-in-laws.
You did.
They are both just spectacular human beings. I just it's so hard, and I know we're gonna have a whole episode where we're talking about, parenting girls and raising
Right.
kids and all that stuff, but it is so hard to let to emotionally and psychologically say this is who your daughter is going to literally spend the rest of their life with. That's a hard transition in your mind.
I'm having
I,
I'm
it's
having nightmares about it.
it's
Just to
hard.
even
It's
think
really
about it.
hard,
Yeah.
but sometimes you just get really lucky with the person they find. I can't say enough about those
Yeah.
two guys, and I know there's two others kind of in the
Can I say
wings that
this?
are.
You got one guy, and I'll say professional golfer. You got this other guy that in his garage is like the fastest car in the world.
I know, and he's
I
big.
mean, he's
He's a
got the fastest car in
Yeah,
the world in his
I know.
garage.
He's a finance genius
He still
too.
has that car. He still has that car, right?
I think it's called a Plaid or something like that. I don't know.
Tesla. Yeah.
Tesla
I'm
Plaid.
gonna say it's amazing. It's absolutely
It's
amazing.
it's not really a dad car, Zach, is it? It's not really a dad car. Come on, Zach.
But hey,
Is it a
but you
dad
just.
car? I don't know.
But hey, if you can have one, have one.
I know. I guess that's kind of our biscuit thing, right? That's the theme. If
Yeah, there's part of it.
stop and get you a little something, right? I suppose. I don't know. But what I was going to tell you was, I got two others in the wings, that have not made the
You do.
commitment yet. They're pretty special too. So
Right.
we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's all good.
It is. It's
Well,
good stuff.
I want to switch gears, David. I want to ask you something
Okay.
about some Pennsylvania news today that I'll let you know that for my work with the university, we always choose a little professional development topic,
Right.
and it's a hot topic right now in education on what role we're going to have with AI, artificial intelligence. How's it going to affect our work as university professors? How is it going to affect student learning? How does it
Right.
affect plagiarism and originality and all these things that come into it with AI? But you in Pennsylvania have had some crazy news drop. Tell
Yeah.
tell tell me about a little more about what you
Right
learned.
now, there's actually been a company that has filled out an application for a cyber charter, and they are an AI driven platform. So basically, I'm going to assume that it's pretty much teacherless. And they've got a lot of claims to fame, and I'm not going to get into anything. I'm not bashing anybody or
Right,
saying
right,
different. It's just a change in how we are educating students.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of people right now are apprehensive about how AI fits in with all this.
yeah, right. Oh yeah,
A lot of people are scared. A lot of people are not. I do want to say that for me, part of what we do here is to share experience, share advice. But I do think, and I'm just going to say it, I think based on your knowledge base, your experiences, your history, everything in mind, I do want to consider myself to be an expert in terms of what we're talking about. And that being that, I don't care how much technology helps us as educators. I mean, technology has its place to help us. It has
yeah,
its place in
absolutely.
its role in how we inform instruction, how we teach, what we use to teach. It's not going to replace us.
Yeah,
And I want to say that, as
yeah,
people out there, it is so important for students, kids, even adults to have human interaction. I can learn some things from a program. I can
yeah,
learn some things. And I'll use this. I'm a firm believer in supplementation. I can look, that program can help me supplement my learning, help me support my
yeah,
learning. It may help me guide. As I get older, it may give me, and here's the other thing, if I'm a self-driven learner, it can probably give me a lot of information.
yeah,
But you learn by doing, and you learn by your experiences. But when you're young, and I'm using kids who are in school from 3 years old to 16, 17 years
yeah,
old, they got to have some type of human interaction. And you know as well as I do, teaching is a lot.
yeah,
It's coaching. It's coaching. It's being a mom. It's being
yeah,
a dad. It's being a counselor. Sometimes it's being a listener. Sometimes it's saying to the person, you need to do this
Yeah.
because I'm telling you what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, and I want your thoughts too. I
Yeah.
just can't, I want people out there, especially educators, people as parents,
Yeah.
to realize that an AI bot cannot replace what a teacher can do for your
Yeah.
child.
It's
There's
a
no, they
it's a
can't.
I'll just say that it's a little bit of a slippery slope for me right now because my university is completely online. However, it's not AI
Yeah.
driven at this
No.
point. At least it's
No.
not. But and you would think that my program's a master's program that I work in, so that is a little different. That we have a lot of second career adults and things like that. But we are working, and it's pretty amazing stuff that they're doing to go down to high school kids and give high
Mhm.
school kids supplemental information. But it's that word you used about supplemental. It's not the primary
No.
method. And absolutely, there will always be highly motivated kids who need very little interaction. You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
need very little. They can thrive on the supplemental stuff, but I this I worry about it being the primary thing. I think is what I
Exactly.
worry
That,
about.
that
Yeah,
that's exactly where I'm going
yeah,
with it because I do think. I mean, just let's just think. I mean, I like you. We'll say in a few years ago, I worked for the university that was a very an online program. I worked with an
yeah,
online program.
yeah.
The online piece has its place, but
Right,
that was not everything. There was a
right,
human piece to help guide
right,
the online piece,
right.
and that was even at the graduate level also.
It was.
But
Yeah,
more importantly for me is the fact is that I don't think we just in terms of what we do every single day in terms of like say education back and forth should even think that technology is anything more than a tool for us. It
yeah,
should be considered a tool to use
yeah.
to educate. It shouldn't be used to
Right.
replace.
I
It's
tell you
not.
what is.
It's just not this. You
Yeah,
know.
right, right, exactly. It's not the relationship piece. And that's the part that I think is really important is to remember how important the role of relationships are in everything that we
Yep.
do in life. I mean,
Everything.
it's so important. But if because we might have some teachers that go back and watch this since we are always going to, talk about some educational themes, but I honestly have very vivid memories educationally of math teachers specifically because I taught math for a lot of years along
Right.
with science, and they were so against using a calculator. It was like it was just a horrible
Yeah.
thing to use a calculator. And
I remember
then
that with you.
and then honestly, we started getting computers in our classrooms, and like we had one. We'll tell a funny story about Van someday and why I had two computers in my classroom and everybody else had one. It's a Van Dierman thing.
It goes back to those two
Yeah.
biscuits.
So yeah, so I had Two Biscuits in my classroom. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
You
So
did.
so then Google came where you could look up
Yeah.
the answers to everything, and it's like let's make our math test calculator proof. Let's have the calculator just be the thing that tells you whether you're right or wrong. Let's have Google be the thing that tells you whether your process and your writing is on the right track or not. Let's not have it be find the answer. I don't need to know what 1776 is. I don't need to know what that is. Don't ask me the date of something. I don't need to know that because I can look that up on Google. But if you ask me about the process to it and there's a thought to it, and I really think if any educator thinks that they are doing a kid a service by not exposing them to AI, that's crazy. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. That's not going to happen.
And let me
So
say, I need to interrupt you because
no, no, you're
these,
fine.
because I learned from you. I struggled with that,
Hmm.
because at one point I had a conversation with professionals that I work with,
Yeah.
and we talked about this because I was under the impression that AI was going to take away the creative spirit of
Mm.
people because they're no longer having to venture out there because they can just request.
Yeah.
But now there's a different. Once I was able to learn more about this and
Yeah.
educate myself and get educated from others, I totally agree with you. So I
Yeah.
want you to continue on. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about, we obviously teach in seventh grade, which is where we both spent a whole lot of our teaching career. Eighth
Yeah.
grade, seventh grade, middle school kids mostly, and you're still in middle school now.
Yep.
I think I envision us at some point, and I'm sure this has already happened in a lot of places, practicing writing prompts. I mean, that's like a degree program. That's a job
Hmm.
to teach people how to write good prompts to get out of machine learning what you want it to do. I did something the other day. Oh, I don't know. It was a silly little thing. My mom asked me for a blank calendar. Do you know how hard it is to find that doesn't have a ton of ads on it, or it's really hard to find a blank calendar anymore. It used to be Microsoft Publisher. Do you remember that program?
Yeah,
Microsoft Publisher
I still have it, I think.
had a great blank calendar. Well, I'm looking all around Microsoft Copilot for that, and I can't find it. So I asked Copilot to make me a blank 2025 calendar for my mom to write
Mhm.
stuff down on. It took me 5 or 6 drafts of very specifically saying, increase this by 50%, decrease this by 25%, change the order of this or that. There was commands that you have to understand how to generate it. What a great learning experience to think through that. So I think that's an exciting activity to do in class. If you want to not be
Think, think,
scared of
think,
AI.
think about this 30 years ago when we would actually do writing prompts. Remember, we'd
Hmm.
have to design a writing prompt,
Hmm.
and the students would have to write for the prompt.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
role. It's a complete role
Reverse
reversal.
it. Yeah, reverse it. You
Reverse it.
write the
I
prompt
mean,
so the machine learning gives you the paper. Yeah,
yeah. I
absolutely.
mean, think
Yeah,
about it. I never think about it.
I
It's just
know.
complete role reversal.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. But so I was thinking that I love this idea. You tell me what you think about this Mount Rushmore thing because we
Okay.
mentioned Van today, but I don't know. I think that could be a recurring episode where I don't know. We got all week to figure out who we're going to talk about and limit
Let
it
me say
because you
this
got
to
to
you.
limit it to 4. There's only
Yeah,
4
yeah.
heads on there.
It's kind of unique that you bring, we say the Mount Rushmore because, every time I watch another podcast, say about professional wrestling,
Hmm.
somebody always, who are your 4 people that you put
Yeah,
on the Mount
yeah,
Rushmore? Who would you put
yeah,
on the 4? This
yeah.
Mount Rushmore concept is pretty good
It's an
because,
ESPN thing. When I
it
listen to
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If I listen to Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon, they're always talking about who's on
Yeah.
your Mount Rushmore of everything.
The other day, because I know because I've been kind of laid up a little bit
Yeah,
with an injury.
yeah.
I watched just odd things. Like I watched Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame acceptance speech the other
Oh
night.
man.
Not that he specifically references Mount Rushmore,
Hmm.
but the concept of who out there would you put out there as being at the same league you are, and
Hmm.
it's just kind of it's just one of those things. I think when you look at things, we're looking for, I'll use the word icons,
Hmm.
an icon of this, an
Yeah,
icon of
yeah,
that, but one of the things that's very important to me is like when you talk about this Mount Rushmore concept, is that those people, even though, and I'm just going to say, I want to make sure I don't, sometimes I speak before and I put my foot in my mouth. Yeah.
You
That
speak
that
before
this,
you put your foot in your mouth. What?
I put my foot in my mouth because I
Yes, there
speak
you
too
go.
much.
There you go.
It's kind of like burn rubber, eat my
Yeah,
dust, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that same I love Chevy Chase, by the way.
yeah,
But anyway, I just want to make sure that when we put that person on Mount Rushmore, the things they did for us or the things they did for influence, but the most important thing to me is they were good people
yeah,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Sometimes you can have people that
yeah,
have great ideas and they do things, but deep down
yeah,
inside, they don't get on Mount Rushmore because I'll be honest with
yeah,
you, they got where they were because they didn't do it
yeah,
the right way.
yeah,
And that's something important for me.
yeah,
I'm a person of I believe totally in
yeah.
people giving me good advice and leadership and being, but I also want to know when I give this person praise, they're worthy of it here.
That's right.
I have a
That's
person
right.
I've worked with just a few years ago who has gone on, bigger and better things. That was something I learned from him. He always would say to me, he goes, "What's in the heart? How are they here? They may say this, but look inside here." And
Yeah,
sometimes we don't do that enough,
right,
but it's true though. It's true.
right. Well, that's actually a great spot to end. Believe it or not, I don't know if you're looking at the clock, but we are at
I'm
30.
not.
We are at 33 minutes already
Are we
today.
really?
I don't know how that
That went by
happened.
faster than the
I
last
know.
two
I
times.
know. Well,
Yeah.
probably anybody that's watching this needs to know that this is how we are when we're in person too. The time just
Yeah.
flies and there's nothing to it. And we are so fortunate. We get to take vacations together sometimes as families. And
Just so you know, I
yeah.
told Michelle about where you're going this next
Hmm.
weekend or
Hmm.
whatever, and she knew about it, but she was like just looking, going,
Yeah, you
Because
should have gone.
if I could
Yeah,
show you what it looks out,
yeah,
and just this
yeah.
past week has been one of the coldest weeks in this
Oh yeah.
area in
Oh,
decades.
oh yeah. It's
I
awful.
on Tuesday morning, I'm not lying, it was minus 13.
Yeah, that's just
Minus
terrible.
13.
That's just terrible. I do remember, I mean, as a kid, I remember it being that cold. And of course, when you're a kid, I probably wanted to go out in a t-shirt and shorts and didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't,
Oh
it's,
yeah.
something stupid. But yeah, so
Yeah.
so we'll be back next week, and we
Okay.
don't know where we're going yet, but I know we're going to have some
Yeah.
guests really soon. I mean, that's going to happen, and we're going to continue to share some good stories with you. So as
Hey,
always, good.
as this progresses, if
Yeah.
people want us to start marketing products for them, I'm sure I can do that for them.
I told you the Zevia. They're gonna call. They're gonna come
That's where I'm
calling.
going.
I
That's
I
where I'm
do love my
going.
I do love my Zevia. I do.
You
I
do.
do. All right. Hey, choose love. Choose two biscuits. Dave Schreiber.
Jeff Tunstall. See you later, buddy.
See y'all.
Peace out.